on corruption ranking. 5 governorship candidates sign open manifesto in Akwa Ibom State. Plus, Pope Francis arrives in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Hello, this is News Live on Viewer Television. I am Ambassador Jesse. Here's the news. Nigeria has fallen 4 places on the latest Corruption Perception Index ranking released by Transparency International. Although the country maintained its previous year's score of 24 out of 100 points, it fell from 150th to 154th position out of 180 countries assessed in the 2022 ranking. The Corruption Perception Index is Transparent International's tool for measuring the levels of corruption in the systems of various countries around the world. The maximum points a country can score is 100 points, and the least is 0. 0 signifies the worst performing country, and 100 is the best ranked. The latest ranking may be an indicator that the country's fight against corruption has stalled and produced little results. Many consider the President Muhammadu Buhari administration's pardon granted to 2 jailed former governors, Joshua Darie of Plateau State and Jolin Yame of Taraba State, in 2022 as a major setback in the country's anti-corruption efforts. President Muhammadu Buhari has unveiled the Dala Inland Dry Port in Dala local government area of Kano State. The president arrived Kano in company with some of his cabinet members. President Muhammadu Buhari was received by the state governor, Abdullahi Ganduje, the Minister of Transportation, Jaji Sambo, and the Managing Director of the Dala Inland Dry Port, Ahmed Rabiu. Other dignitaries at the event included the Executive Secretary of Nigerian Shippers Council, Emmanuel Jime, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Transportation, Magdalene Ajani, and the former Executive Secretary, NSC Hassan Bello. Nigeria has about 25% of all neglected tropical diseases in Africa, with millions of persons at risk. The Minister of Health, Osage Ehanire, reveals this in Abuja during the commemoration of the World Neglected Tropical Diseases Day, organized by the ministry in collaboration with the World Health Organization. Ehanire said 122 million people were at risk of lymphatic filariasis, 33 million at risk of onchocerciasis, 20.8 million at risk of schistosomiasis, 29.4 million at risk of soil-transmitted helminths, 5.3 million at risk of trachoma, and 6.5 million at risk of human African trypanosomiasis, respectively. He added that Nigeria was particularly interested in NTDs as they are a group of communicable and non-communicable diseases occurring mostly in isolated areas of developing countries with poor sanitation and nutritional status, unsafe water supply, substandard living conditions, and low level of education. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention says the country has confirmed 111 cases of diphtheria with 22 deaths between December the 1st, 2022 and the 3rd week in January 2023. The diphtheria situation report from the NCDC showed Kano State has the highest burden of confirmed cases with 107 and 21 confirmed deaths. Lagos State reported 1 confirmed case with 1 death. Yobe State with 2 confirmed cases and no death. And Osun State with 1 confirmed case and no death. A week ago, the NCDC reported 123 confirmed cases with 38 deaths. However, an investigation showed that the figure reported earlier was not accurate, as the data sent in by the states were for suspected diphtheria cases and not confirmed cases. The Kogi State House of Assembly has recalled 4 suspended members. The lawmakers who were recalled are Right Honorable Ahmed Mohammed, former Deputy Speaker Honorable Bello Abdullahi, former Majority Leader Honorable Idris Ndakwo, Lokoja II, and Honorable Moses Ododo, former Deputy Chief Whip. The 4 lawmakers were suspended in June 2022 for alleged gross misconduct, which was investigated by the House Committee on Ethics and Privileges. Speaker of the House, Right Honorable Matthew Kolawole, announced the lifting of the suspension on Tuesday during the House sitting in Lokoja. Kolawole said the suspension of the members is not the wish of any members in the House, adding that the 7th Assembly is gradually coming to an end, hence the need for peace and harmony among members in the state. Barely 48 hours to the initial deadline for the return of the redesigned notes, the CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele has informed Nigerians that the deadline has been extended to February the 10th. Our correspondent tells us more.
In response to complaints that millions of people have been unable to obtain replacements, endangering commercial activity and livelihoods weeks before the presidential elections, Nigeria Central Bank has delayed the phase-out of outdated high-value banknotes for 10 days. The new deadline is now February the 10th instead of the former 31st January deadline. Mr. Emefiele spoke in direct Katsina State after a meeting with the president, who is in his home state for official duties.
Aside from those holding illicit and stolen naira in their homes for speculative purpose, we do aim to give all Nigerians that have naira legitimately earned and trapped the opportunity to deposit their legitimately trapped monies at the CBN for exchange. Based on the foregoing, we have sought and obtained Mr. President's approval for the following. 1. A 10-day extension of the deadline from January 31, 2023 to February 10, 2023 to allow for collection of more old notes legitimately held by Nigerians and achieve more success in cash swap in our rural areas, in our villages and communities, after which all old notes outside the CBN loses their legal tender.
A week before this new development, the CBN governor told newsmen that there will be no going back on the previous deadline, January 31st, 2023.
He says reports suggest that many people want the deadline to be shifted for reasons ranging from their inability to gain access to the new notes or deposit their old currencies. I must say here that unfortunately I don't have good news for those who feel that we should shift the deadline. My apologies.
In order to combat counterfeiting and limit the usage of cash in Africa's largest economy, the central bank announced a redesign of 200, 500 and 1,000 naira notes in October 2022. Politicians and ordinary individuals in the country, where the cash economy is still very active, have criticized the bank's handling of the initiative. As the deadline drew near, people claimed that although banks continued to print the old notes, companies, especially stores, were refusing to accept them.
It's for us to be able to take all our old notes to the bank, so that anybody that wants to come and do any transaction with us here, it's either you're doing a transfer or you're doing a POS transaction with us for now. Because even the notes, it's only few we've been collecting. Most of the customers still come with a lot of the notes.
Many of the country's population live in rural areas with no access to banks where they can exchange the old notes. A cash swap scheme to help them do so via banking agents in their communities was announced a week before the initial deadline.
When News Live returns, 5 governorship candidates in Akwa Ibom State have signed the Open Governorship Manifesto to publicly symbolize their readiness to run an open government agenda. Details of this and more comes to you right after the break.
Basically, an environmentalist is someone who believes in clean, sustainable environment. And as an environmental artist, I use materials. I believe in clean and sustainable environment. I use materials that contribute to environmental degradation, like the leather bags, plastic bottles, aluminum foils, and all that, to create artworks that I use to engage the public to discuss issues on environmental challenges. You know, as an artist, I started out by using improvisation in my art, and then gradually I got this idea about using, you know, materials that I found around me, organic materials around me to create works, and then I started getting involved in the crusade to save the environment. Well, at some point I used to have a studio somewhere, but then I had issues I had to leave, and because of the kind of works that I do, mostly sculptures, you know, I found it very difficult to find a space where I used to stay, which was just down the street here. And then I jogged past here every day, and then one day I saw this place, it wasn't in use, and then I applied to the government. They gave me the papers to go ahead and do it. So I now started creating works, you know, getting other artists involved, and then we're all trying to develop here into a cultural, environmental space where everything is going to be more like a bohemian kind of arrangement, environmental and all that. So this is a diptych, has two sides, and then unlike the rose flower in the gallery, here I'm trying to, the subject here is freedom. You know, if you have to go like this to look at it very well, it's two hands, you know, somebody in shackles, and then you're seeing the shackles breaking off. You know, for me, I'm trying to send a message about, most of us get so consumed in abusing the environment. So you need to break through for someone who is living in denial that the environment isn't even, you know, at risk. So for me, the breakthrough, the freedom, is when you accept that notion that the environment, that we all contribute to this environmental degradation one way or the other. You know, so the freedom comes in the mindset that actually the environment is at risk. So what are you doing to save the environment? I get the soda cans, and then I cut them out. First and foremost, for me, because they look so shiny, and then I have to tune down the shine of the soda can. So I now burn them, and while I burn them, I also try to let people remember about the carbon that we're talking about, their carbon footprint. And after burning them, I select them into different colors.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Live. A recap of our top stories. Nigeria falls again on corruption ranking. 5 governorship candidates sign open manifesto in Akwa Ibom State. Plus, Pope Francis arrives in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, has declared that Nigeria is ready for the upcoming 2023 general election, despite rumors from some quarters that there will be a likely postponement due to the insecurity in the country. The Speaker gave the assurance when he received a delegation of the International European Union Election Observers Mission, who paid him a courtesy call in his office. He, however, conceded that there are some delays in the collection of permanent voter cards, but assured the visiting delegation that the Independent National Electoral Commission is working assiduously to ensure that the issues are resolved.
I think those who are saddled with the responsibility of making sure that we conduct free, fair elections have done what they need to do, and starting from Mr. President to the National Assembly to the INEC officials. I want to believe that the buck now has to be passed on to the people themselves, who have to be vigilant and to make sure that their votes count.
On his part, the leader of the delegation, Barry Andrews, commended the Speaker on the role he played in guiding the electoral reforms processes that culminated in the passage of the 2022 Electoral Reforms Act.
With your cooperation, and we're delighted to be able to support Nigerian democracy in every way that we can to make our honest assessments. On the last occasion, we made a series of recommendations which were extremely well received and many of them implemented, and I want to really compliment you on the guiding the electoral reform and the Electoral Act itself over the last few years. It's been a really notable achievement, and it has ensured that the ground is prepared for what we all hope is a successful election.
The chairman, Plateau State Council of Chief and leading traditional rulers in the state, Jacob Gang, has appealed to the women folk to advise their children of words against being used by crafty politicians to cause electoral violence in the 2023 general elections. Jacob Gang made the appeal when the wife of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) presidential candidate Rukaya Atiku Abubakar and her campaign organization paid him a condolence visit at his palace in Jos. The report.
Princess Rukaya's visit to the palace of Bongom Jos follows the death of some Plateau State PDP supporters who were involved in a fatal accident after a rally in Pangshing. Bongom Jos used the occasion to call on the women to guide their children and ensure that politicians don't use them to perpetrate electoral vices.
The children that a lot of politicians are dragging into waywardness, into thuggery, into drug addiction, they will remain with us. And tomorrow they will be the next batch of Boko Haram, bandits, and so on and so forth. We have this problem here in Nigeria, and I will appeal, you are the mothers of these children. And there are no better people to talk to the children than you, the women folk. And I pray that God grants the desires of the crowd here, and you become the first lady of Nigeria. We will charge you to take on the project to redeem our youth from the calamity.
The traditional ruler says he is happy that Atiku's wife cooks to visit shortly after the former vice president was in Jos for the same reason.
We want to appreciate your visit here on the same mission, because not just because they are PDP supporters, but because they are human beings created by God, just like all of us. So we really appreciate you for coming to celebrate with not only their family, not only the PDP family, but Plateau State as a whole.
Earlier, Princess Rukaya Atiku Abubakar, while commiserating with the people of Plateau State, called the death of the supporters as an act of God. She prays for the repose of the souls of the victims. Also, the DG campaign of Praco in her remarks thanked the Bongom for a warm reception, as well as calling the women in Plateau State to vote for the PDP in all elected offices.
Saboda sanin darajar fada shi yasa duk ƙasar da muka je, duk garin da muka je, za ta ce mu isa fada mu kai gaisuwa ko kuma nemi albarka mai girma sarkin da yake wannan. Babanmu mun zo ne mu samu albarkar wannan fada, a sa muna albarka ga wannan tafiya tamu. Allah ya albarkace ta kuma Allah ya ba mu nasara.
The Praco team, after a visit to the Bongom Palace, proceeded to other important functions for which they came to Plateau State.
A federal high court